Good morning. Good morning. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I took a drink of Pepsi right before I started talking. Bubbles got to go somewhere. Can you guys hear me okay? I was messing with my mic. Am I getting louder or lower? Louder? Softer? I don't know why I decided to mess with the mic when I couldn't assess what was happening because there is no indicators on this mic as to whether or not I'm getting louder or not. There's a light. Now I've screwed everything up. If it's green, it's getting louder. If it's blue, it's slower. It's blue right now. Turn green. Debbie, dang it. What is happening? Let me know. Can you hear me? Is it better now? Is it better now? Is it going louder? Dang it, I'm just like Grogu. I gotta push buttons. Is it better or worse? Better? Okay. Can you hear me? Good? It's good. Okay. I will stop touching stuff. Okay. We are on part. I don't know why I'm this way this morning. I don't. It's better than being sad, right? Okay. We are on part 105. Dang, I wonder how many. I didn't think we would go over 100 parts of this trial. Man, this was a long trial. I don't know that I ever want to do another one that takes this long. Um so we're not doing OJ and we're not doing the Menendez brothers because this has been long. Like in I was listening when we were listening to his closing arguments yesterday, he's talking about all these people that I don't remember anymore cuz it's so long ago. Okay, so we're going to start. AJ was talking about all the experts and all of the literature that they looked at to get the facts for this case. So we're going to start with a slide of a list of literature. So don't be confused. He's just talking about this list of books.
Said that high velocity backspatter of this size goes about a yard. Stuart James, by the way, James and Kish, that's Stuart James, the person who testified in this case. He said extremely fine spatter will go 6 to 12 inches in his opinion. James and Ecker, in an earlier publication, said 2 to 3 feet. Mr. Pex published with Mr. Vaughn, and he said high velocity backspatter of this size will go about 2 feet. And Stevens and Allen said about 50 centimeters, which translates into about 11 to 19 inches. They all say the same thing, and I want to go back to one more photograph. They all say the same thing, that backspatter goes, high velocity backspatter
Oh, kind of off topic, but and of course, Judy, since it's just me and you right now, I noticed yesterday StreamYard did not work well with Court TV's website, but when I switched over to YouTube, no problems. Isn't that weird. It's got to be something to do with bandwidth or something. Because I have problems whenever I have problems with I get that player error message on Court TV's website, and it's like a back and forth between StreamYard and the error message, because it's like I'll get the Court TV website straightened out, and then StreamYard will crash. So it's a back and forth. But then when I switch over to the trial on YouTube, it seems to work fine. So, but what I was gonna say is that last night I watched a documentary on Bob Crane. Do you remember Bob Crane from Hogan's Heroes? Um, it was about his murder, and it just showed lots and lots and lots of pictures of Bob Crane, and I cannot get over how much he reminded me of Alan Jackson. They resemble each other a lot. I was like, "Oh, wow." But I had always heard that it was an unsolved. You don't think they resemble each other? So I'd always heard it was an unsolved murder, but they know who did it. There was a trial and everything. He just got acquitted. And I never knew that. That fascinated me. And his son, Bob Crane's son, um, wrote a book about his dad and the whole thing. I never knew that. Anyway, okay. So that just because I kept through the whole thing, I kept thinking, he reminds me of AJ. And then seeing AJ made me think to anyway, okay. Let's keep going.
There's no blood in front of her. There's no blood across the hall from her. There is just no blood. The backspatter didn't go that far. It ended right at her skirt. And I don't want to be indelicate about this. I'm not trying to be indelicate about Lana Clarkson. She lost her life tragically. I understand that. I wanted to suggest you use her as a yardstick, and I don't mean that pejoratively. I'm being very sensitive about who she is, that she was a human being. But her body is the best yardstick for this evidence.
Like I said, StreamYard and Court TV's website don't play well together.
To suggest you use her as a yardstick, and I don't mean that pejoratively. I'm being very sensitive about who she is, that she was a human being. But her body is the best yardstick for this evidence. If high velocity backspatter went any further than the hem would have been here on her thighs. It would have been here on her knees. It would have been here on her shins and her shoes. We know where the pattern ends. It ends in 2 feet. And what does that tell us about this jacket? That tells us that this jacket consistent with the smokeless powder on Phil Spector's cup, along with the bloodstained
It did it again. Dang it. StreamYard, you're getting on my last nerve.
Feet. That's it. Plain and simple. That's how far it went. And remember, I asked James, Mr. James, and I asked Mr. Pex, if the bloodstain pattern ends at her skirt, at the hem of her skirt, where does that place Philip Spector? Lynn Harold said it places him about here. And Mr. Pex and Mr. agreed. They both agreed. It would place him 2 feet away from her. That means arm's length. Arm's length from Lana Clarkson. With his hand out in front of him, arm's length. Leaning to his right, arm's length. With the left side of his jacket exposed to her face, arm's length. That's where Philip Spector was. Ladies and gentlemen, we have introduced you, of course, this trial to the real Phil Spector. There's if you're off. What motivates him to act in accordance with certain stimuli, if you will. That's a very legal way of saying why he does what he does. There's a reason why he does what he does. There's a reason why he did what he did with Lana Clarkson. Think about what sets him off and what starts it all off.
He had music. We talked, he talked. And he was drinking. Anyway, and so I said, Philip, stop it. I'm just going to go home. No, don't do this to me again. Please. You're drinking too much. He was drinking mainly vodka, but I never saw him without a drink. He had a lot more to drink. He was getting, in my opinion, a little drunk.
We went in and he fixed us a drink. He wasn't stumbling drunk, but he definitely was a little drunk.
On this evening, was Phil Spector drinking?
Yes.
Drinking a little or a lot, or do you know?
A lot.
And once he's been drinking, what sets him off? What's the
He
catalyst?
turned and started walking at me, screaming at me to get the F back in the house. Eventually, he got up and he backhanded me with the pistol again and said, I told you to take your effing clothes off. It was getting late and people were leaving and he didn't want me to leave again. And I'm saying, okay, Philip, now I'm going to leave. I have to go now. And I'm saying, bye-bye. He was screaming at me. He was screaming the F word and you're not fucking leaving, you're not. And I go, Philip, just let me go home. Don't hurt me. He said, please put the gun down. I said, then, well, I'll pay for the room. So we started arguing that the main thing was that I would have to pay for the room. He was following me around, yelling at me. I was finishing, I packed everything, I had it on the bed, ready to go, and he came back in the room.
I was tired. It was after a couple of hours of being there. I'm tired, I want to go. And as soon as I said, I'm tired, I want to go, he turned and looked at me and he pointed his finger and said, what? You want to go?
Did you tell him that at some point you wanted to go?
Absolutely.
And what happened then?
He said no and locked the door.
And what is Phil Spector's reaction when confronted with that circumstance?
Snubbed his revolver. Was pointing the gun at me. The gun was pointing at me.
What is happening? Ugh. Why is nothing happening? Everything just froze on me. Everything just froze. Well, that was weird. Sorry, guys. I have no idea what that was.
Course of this trial to the real Phil Spector. There is arm's length. That's where Philip Spector is. Ladies and gentlemen, we introduced you throughout the course of this trial to the real Phil Spector. There is a recipe, if you will, to what sets Mr. Spector off, what motivates him to act in accordance with certain stimuli, if you will. Why he does what he does. There's a reason why he does what he does. There's a reason why he did what he did with Lana Clarkson. Think about what sets him off and what starts it all off.
He talked.
And so I said, Philip, stop it. I'm just going to go home. Don't do this to me again. Please. You're drinking too much.
He was drinking mainly vodka, but I never saw him without a drink. He had a lot more to drink. He was getting, in my opinion, a little drunk.
We went in and he fixed us a drink. He wasn't stumbling drunk, but he definitely was a little drunk.
On this evening, was Phil Spector drinking?
Yes,
Drinking a little or a lot, or do you know?
a lot.
And once he's been drinking, what sets him off? What's the
He
catalyst?
turned and started walking at me, screaming at me to get the F back in the house. Eventually, he got up and he backhanded me with the pistol again and said, I told you to take your effing clothes off.
It was getting late and people were leaving and he didn't want me to leave again. And I'm saying, okay, Philip, now I'm going to leave. I have to go now. And I put my purse on my arm and I'm saying, bye-bye. And he was screaming at me. He was screaming the F word and you're not fucking leaving, you're not. And I go, Philip, just let me go home. Don't hurt me. I said, please put the gun down.
I said then, well, I'll pay for the room. So we started arguing that the main thing was then I would have to pay for the room. he was following me around, yelling at me. I was finishing, I packed everything, I had it on the bed ready to go, and he came back in the room.
I was tired. It was after a couple of hours of being there. I'm tired, I want to go. And as soon as I said, I'm tired, I want to go, he turned and looked at me and he pointed his finger. He said, what? You want to go?
Did you tell him that at some point you wanted to go?
Absolutely.
And what happened then?
He said no and locked the door.
And what is Phil Spector's reaction? When confronted with that circumstance, what does he do?
Snub nose revolver.
Oh, speaking of that, I forgot to read Judy's trivia this morning. Okay, how was my sound on the mic? I've got to figure this stupid mic out. Okay, because I was going to ask you a question about this, Judy. I totally forgot. Read this. Lana Clarkson was basically imprisoned. She wasn't free to leave because she couldn't open the door because Spector had taken the lever device and the thumb device off the deadbolt on the door. Did that come out during the trial? Because I don't remember that. It's low. Okay. I think I went the wrong way with the wheel. Hate this wheel. There is nothing on here, no numbers or anything like that to indicate which way it goes. There's just a color, and there was nothing in the little manual that came with it. Is it getting louder? It goes blue, green, and red. Red is muted. Sorry, I burped into the microphone again. Stupid Pepsi. Oh, I wonder if that was um emotions in lemonade and it was kept out. Because it shouldn't have been kept out. But if it'd been left in, that would have been open and shut. I would think. Because was he charged with false imprisonment? Was that one of the charges? I don't remember. I think he was just charged with murder, wasn't he? We sat through the whole charging conference and the evidence and everything, and I don't remember what his charges are. That is how long this trial has been, is that I have lost all the details. I don't remember if he was charged with false imprisonment. I guess we'll find out.
He was pointing the gun at me. The gun was pointed at me. He was seated on the stairs and the gun pointed at me. But he had a rifle in his hand. And then he was screaming at me. He had a gun to my face, a pistol of some sort. I wasn't sure if it was loaded. And he had it here. He put it all over me. He said he was going to blow my brains out. I mean, by gunpoint. I have an Uzi here, and I am going to kill you. He had it in his hand. I saw that. I saw that gun.
He had his gun with him, and he pulled a chair and put it in front of the door and said that I wasn't going anywhere. It was a small gun. I'm not sure exactly what type of gun it was.
He walked in with a gun. He walked right up to me and held the gun right to my face with just inches between my eyes and said, if you try to leave, I'm going to kill you.
And I remember standing in the lobby with the door in front of me, and as I turned, there was a gun pointed at my temple, actually touching my temple. So I don't know exactly, but it was not a small one. It was like a long-barreled, looked like a shotgun. It was touching my temple. I can feel it was cold.
Ladies and gentlemen, these women also told you what the reaction was after the gun is pulled.
I was crying. I said, Phil, don't make me do this. I don't want to do this. Why are you doing this? I was sobbing. I was terrified.
And he was not my Phil.
He wasn't the man I loved. I mean, I cared about this man, and it wasn't him. It was like he was demonic. It was just a total, I can't describe it, but it was scary. Scared the hell out of me.
That I was about to get shot, that I didn't know what was going to happen.
And then, right then, I knew his whole demeanor had changed. And that kind of, I was kind of taken back by that. Well, I was afraid a lot because there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to kill me if I tried to leave.
He said, if you leave, I'll blow your fucking head off.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a statement that probably gives you the richest insight into how the state of mind of Philip Spector and how he feels about women and what his thought process is concerning women. Listen to this.
Jennings, I fucking transferred your messages. You got 7 of them, okay? Count them when you fucking call in. You're a fucking asshole. You never fucking was in New York. You never fucking showed up. And fucking we called you 16 fucking times. We're fucking somebody else. Go fuck yourself, Jennings. Last time we're going to say it. Now, I picked up all your 7 fucking messages now, and I'll do every fucking thing in my power to make sure you don't work anymore in Philadelphia. In any event, it was really nice knowing you, but you're a fucking asshole and you're a fucking lying cunt. So don't fuck with me, because you can get fucked around with if you do. Never shovel it with a shovel, kid, because I'll fucking put you out of business. And I'm going to try real hard to do so, and I guarantee you I will. You know who this is. Trust me. I'm that good at what I do. Goodbye, kid. Go fuck yourself.
And recall what Philip Spector said. This will give you insight into what Philip Spector's state of mind is with regard to women. They're all fucking cunts who deserve a bullet in their head. And how did Lana Clarkson meet her fate? Sitting in the foyer of his house with a bullet in her head. I told you at the beginning of our discussion today that I wanted you to think about 3 things, ultimately. What Philip Spector did, what he didn't do, and what he said he did. I want to touch on that briefly right now. Your Honor, I would estimate that I have at this point 15 to 20 minutes left.
You tell me how you feel about going over till tomorrow.
Going over till tomorrow?
Yes.
I would rather finish today if I at all could.
Okay.
If I can impose on the jurors, but I don't want to impose on them. It's been a long day.
They're okay.
They're okay?
Okay.
If you'll bear with me, Judge.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can walk through this relatively fast. What Philip Spector did, we know how much he was drinking. We know how much he had consumed alcohol that night. We know what his time frame was, if you will, as he was consuming alcohol throughout the night. We know that he was consuming more alcohol back at the location, more tequila back at his house. What was his state of mind? What was he thinking about? Putting on soft lights, dimming the candles, soft music, taking a Viagra. What do you think he had on his mind? But Lana Clarkson wanted to leave. And how do we know that she wanted to leave? She's sitting there with her purse on her shoulder, her jacket on her back, her shoes on her feet. Lana Clarkson wanted to go home. She wanted to go home to the car that she left on the street. She wanted to go back to that car and get herself back to her cottage. She wasn't contemplating her death. She just wanted to get out of there. The same way all 5 other women wanted to get out of there. 7 different incidents, 5 different women show you what Philip Spector's motive is when he's confronted with this situation. He had one thing on his mind and she had another. She was ready to go. She grabs her purse, puts her jacket on, and literally sits in the chair closest to the back door. She couldn't get any closer to the back door, folks. The only chair closer had a valise in it. She sat in the one location that was the very closest to the back door, the closest to her safety, the closest to her escape. And she sat there and waited, and waited, and waited, until Mr. Spector ultimately pulled that gun. What do we know that he was doing? I started out by asking the question, what did Spector do? What was he doing? We know he was moving around the house. We know he was transferring blood all over the house. He was taking his jacket off upstairs, discarding his clothing. He grabbed a diaper from upstairs, and he began to wipe her face. And what do you notice about this diaper? I mean, even in Miss Linda Kinney-Bodden's 10 points, she said, well, the blood clotting on the diaper, no, he was just trying to save her. He was trying to render aid. Malarkey. He was trying to render aid. Ladies and gentlemen, Lana Clarkson suffered an indignity that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. She lay there dead, her spine transected, and he grabs a diaper and begins wiping her face with toilet water. Toilet water. No blood in the sink, no blood in the shower. Women are effing C words, and they don't deserve anything better than a bullet in their head. And if they get a bullet in their head, they don't deserve anything better than to have their faces wiped with toilet water. Where Mr. Spector urinated and defecated. This is toilet water. It was disgusting. It's barbaric. It's monstrous. And that's how he chose to wipe her face, as if she hadn't suffered an indignity enough, with toilet water. That's what he's doing inside the house. We know that the rag was wet with water. We know that it was bloody. We know that it had clotted blood on it. We know that it had Lana's blood on it. What was he doing with that rag? He was trying to clean up what he had messed up. He was panicking and trying to clean up what he was messed up. And of all things, for God's sake, he chose toilet water to wipe on her face. And this was the result. What did he do with the gun? We know that he had the gun in his hand. Adriana D'Souza told us he had the gun in his hand. But where does the gun end up? Take a look at where it is juxtaposed to her left hand. The one thing we do know about Lana Clarkson, she was right-handed. We learned that during the course of the trial. Yet the gun is under her left foot, close to her left hand. And what do we know about her left hand? Right there. There's a blood transfer, a blood smear. And we know physically she didn't do that. She was already dead. Somebody was messing with her left hand. Somebody with a bloody object was messing with her left hand. Philip Spector was pressing that gun in her hand, and he let it drop, and look where it ended up. He pressed the gun in her hand and just let it drop. He was trying to clean up what he had messed up. That's what Philip Spector was doing. Take a close look back in the deliberation room at that photograph. Look at how the left side of that bloody hand grip has 2 marks on it. Large blood spot, small blood spot, gap, larger blood spot. Now let me go back. Smaller blood spot, gap, larger blood spot. What do you think Philip Spector was doing? He was trying to clean up what he had messed up. And one thing we know for sure, he was transferring blood all over the house. He had blood on his hands, yet when he was arrested, no blood. He wiped or washed his hands. And that's corroborated even more so by the fact that he had blood in his pockets. Was the gun in his pockets? Were his hands in his pockets? Were both? I don't know. But all of these marks That's blood transfer in his pockets of his pants. What do we know about his shirt? We know the right sleeve of his shirt had those telltale signs of crusty white mineral, apparently wet and then dried. What was he doing with his right hand? That's the hand he was stuffing that diaper in the toilet in just before he walks over with that filthy water, that disgusting, filthy water, and wiping her face with it. That's what he was doing. And then when the police came, did Philip Spector act like an innocent man? Was he cooperative? Did he come running out and say, oh my God, there's a woman that's injured. You got to help her. No, he didn't. He said, you got to see this. And he only said, you got to see this after he ignored command after command after command after command to come out with your hands up. Come out with your hands up. His hands go up, they go back down, they go in his pockets, they go up again, they go around. He turns around, and he turns back around, and he begins backing into the house. Is that the conduct of an innocent man who's just watched a woman commit suicide? Is that the conduct? Or is D'Souza's conduct more consistent with what you do in an emergency? And what Spector didn't do. Here's an interesting aside. If I could bet, I would bet $10. Or I'd give $10 to anybody in the courtroom, not the audience, that could tell me who Bob Gallagher and Bob Fitzgerald are. Nobody? I've got a hint. They're inventors. And they invented something so basic, so ingrained in the fabric of our society that you folks don't even know it was an invention. I didn't know it was an invention. As these photographs go up over my shoulder, let me tell you a little bit about Bob and Bob, Gallagher and Fitzgerald. Back in the 60s, they invented a system. They invented something that's an emergency system. They invented something that they wanted so simple that the federal government wanted to adopt, that's so simple that even in the face of the most panic-stricken situation, you know what to do. An emergency response system. How could we employ an emergency response system in this country so that every man, woman, and child knows what to do in the face of an emergency, even if panicked? We got to teach people how to use the system. We got to make it simple. Bob and Bob said it's got to be simple so that anybody can remember it. Anybody knows what to do in a situation. You've all heard the system in play. If a child, a baby, falls in a pool, what's the first thing you hear the people around the pool scream? 4 words. You hear them scream 4 words. If you're having dinner at a restaurant and a man grabs his chest and falls to the ground, his wife screams, oh my God, my husband's having a heart attack. What 4 words do you hear every single time coming right in the wake of that woman saying, my husband's having a heart attack? If you're looking out your window, folks, and you see a motorcyclist hit by a truck, what's the first thing you're going to hear people on the street scream to the top of their lungs? What would you scream? You know what it is. It starts with the word dial. 911. Bob and Bob invented the 911 system. A system that you don't even think of as an invention, because every man, woman, and child in this country, every village, every township, every county, every city, every state has adopted this as the emergency system. Every 3-year-old knows to call 911 when there's an emergency. Every 83-year-old knows call 911 when there's an emergency. Lana Clarkson was laying dead in Philip Spector's foyer, and according to the defense, she killed herself. And he never called 911. Never. Not once. Not once. And what is the argument going to be? Panic? That's what the system was designed for. A 4-year-old knows to call 911 if mommy's hurt. And Spector never did. Never did. That's what he didn't do. That's what he didn't do. And why wouldn't he do it? Who's the last person you want showing up on your doorstep if you've just killed a woman? The cops. That's why he didn't call 911. That's why. And then what Spector said he did. Listen to Adriana D'Souza briefly.
I waited in the car until like around 5 o'clock in the morning. I heard a noise. I opened the door and I tried to find where the noise came from. I went like close to the fountain, just like to check a little bit fast and returned inside the car. I waited like for a minute probably, and Mr. Spector opened the door. I got out to the car and he was at the door. At that time he had a gun in his hand. It's a revolver, right hand. Yes. Like that. Saw a little bit of blood. He said, I think I killed somebody. I saw like I saw the blood in her face. I stepped aside and I saw the blood in his hand. I saw the gun before. Before I saw the legs, I saw the gun. He said, I think I killed somebody. No, the words that I heard were clear.
The words that I heard that night were clear. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a second. I was going to run all through this. Your Honor, if I may? Yes. Briefly. I was going to run through this rapid fire and talk to you about how this case finally is summarized, how it comes together, how it just makes sense. I think the best way to do it is just to visit with you about it. I mean, let's talk about the evidence in common sense terms. If the average age on this jury, ladies and gentlemen, is say 40 years old, there's some older, there's some younger. You've got 500 and some odd years among you of living experience. One of the things that you have to remember is that you don't check your common sense at that door. When you walk into the deliberation room, you bring with you common sense. All 17 of you, common sense. As I talk through this evidence with you, think about how it fits together. Think about what you've heard during the course of this trial. You start with Philip Spector's state of mind. You know the real Philip Spector. Women are all effing C words. And they don't deserve anything more than a bullet in their head. That is his conscious disregard for human life. Plain and simple. That's his conscious, and I'll put it a different way, that's his conscious disregard for female human life. Add to that his pattern of conduct over the years, his motivator, if you will. The 5 women, the 7 incidents, Deborah Robitaille, he drinks, I want to leave, he pulls a gun. A second time, he drinks, I want to leave, he pulls a gun. Dorothy Melvin, he drinks, I wanted to leave, he pulled a gun. Stephanie Jennings, he drinks, I wanted to leave, and he pulled a gun. Diane Ogden, 2 times, drinking, she tried to leave, and he pulled a gun. Melissa Grosvenor, same thing. When she wants to leave, he's got control. He's got the ultimate control. Add to that, on February 3rd, 2003, the evidence in this case illustrates that he had been drinking. That Lana was lured to his home. She was coaxed to go home with him. He turned down the lights, put on candles, soft music. He had romance on his mind. Add to that he was taken, or apparently took Viagra. He was missing some pills in his valise. What do you think he was doing? What do you think he had on his mind? Add to that Lana wanted to leave. What is Phil Spector's motivator in this situation? What makes him tick? What motivates him to act in this situation? Add to that that he's standing within arm's reach of Lana Clarkson. The physical evidence proves that. 2 feet away, right on top of her. Add to that she's shot to death with his gun, loaded with his bullets, in his bureau drawer, in his holster, in his foyer, in his home. Add to that he shows up with her blood all over him. Add to that he discarded his clothing and never called for help. That he wiped her face off with toilet water and never called for help. Add to that he cleaned his hands off and never called for help. He wet his black shirt and wiped down the gun and never called for help, and planted it under a foot and never called for help. Add to that, Adriana D'Souza saw him step outside with the gun in his hands literally seconds after that shot was fired, with her blood on his hands. And he never called 911. He never called for help. Add to that his statement, "I think I killed somebody," which probably should have more properly been, "I think I finally killed somebody." This is what he does when he's confronted with this situation. He's done it for decade after decade after decade. I think I killed somebody. Those 5 words that have resonated throughout this courtroom, throughout this trial. I think I killed somebody. Somebody. Did he even remember her name? Just somebody. A woman. Or was she just somebody? Ladies and gentlemen, when you walked into this courtroom 5 months ago with that subpoena, jury summons in your hand, you probably thought to yourself, why should I care? Why should I care about this? This happened 4 years ago. I don't know Lana Clarkson. I don't know anything about Phil Spector. Why should I care? I've got a life to lead. I've got kids to raise. I've got a job to go to. I've got projects that are due. Why should I care? When this is all said and done, I'm going to go about my life, and somebody else is going to get jury service. Why should I care? I have a life, and I want to live it, and I've got better things to do than sit on a jury for weeks or months on end. Why should I care? Well, I'll tell you why you should care. Because in the communities in which we live, you and me, these communities, they're founded on the rule of law. And under that law, you folks are empowered with the ultimate responsibility. The ultimate responsibility, whether you like it or not. The responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, to seek justice for those who cannot seek justice for themselves, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. You have that responsibility. Lana Clarkson is one of those people. Lana Clarkson can't seek justice for herself. That was seen to by Philip Spector. Was she just somebody? Was Lana Clarkson an anonymous somebody that deserved a bullet in her head? No. She was so much more than that. Lana Clarkson was made of flesh and bone. She had a heart. She had a soul. She had her ups. She had her downs. She was laughter and smiles, and she was tears. Lana Clarkson was a sister. She was a daughter. She was a friend. Lana Clarkson was, after all, very much a human being. And she deserved so much more than just to be somebody with a bullet in her head. This was Lana Clarkson.
I'm gonna get copyright struck for the music.
That was the life that Philip Spector stole. Lana Clarkson is entitled to your justice. She's entitled to your verdict. Thank you, Your Honor.
Counsel, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 9 o'clock for you. Keep in mind the admonition. We'll see you at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, please.
The jurors and alternates have left. There is one thing that we need to do before we come in at 8:30 and deal with any objections or anything that you have. We're basically in the same position with Ms. Kenny Bodden that we were with Mr. Cutler because neither was here during the complete presentation of the trial. Now, it's Mr. Spector's decision as to who argues the case. It means nothing to me. That's a matter for the defense to agree on. But insofar, and I've discussed the law before in one of the Manson cases, we think it's probably the Watson case, I'm not sure, where it's a different situation insofar as there, after counsel unexpectedly died, the court appointed an attorney, said you can review the transcripts, whatever, and the court held it was error to allow an attorney who wasn't present during the entire trial to argue. Now, of course, that was a case where the court made the appointment. But in this case, Mr. Spector, I want to make sure that that's your wish that Ms. Kenny Bodden argue the case even though she was not here during the entire trial and will be commenting on witnesses that she was not present to observe. Is that agreeable to you?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're done. Thank you.
AJ is good at his job. He's got a flair for drama. Come on, stupid thing. Not even giving me a bar down here to do anything. sorry.
The pattern is admitting evidence to prove a pattern of conduct on the defendant's part, because unless they're in contravention of the court's rulings on the limited purpose for which the evidence is submitted. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Some of your points need comment from the prosecution. Two do not. The comment, I was so incredulous as to Dr. DeMayo's testimony, that's fair comment. It's not vouching or not vouching, it's just I was incredulous at the testimony. There's nothing improper about that. That's appropriate argument in my viewpoint. Jury, yes, okay, we'll hold off. All right, the jurors and alternates have arrived and are in the jury room. You may, as I was saying before they arrive, so I don't see any problem with the comments concerning Dr. DeMayo. I disagree with your comments concerning pattern, although appellate cases may have discussed the term pattern. It's very clear as to what the instruction, the limitations that the law puts on me that I'm going to follow in the instruction. Baden, in her argument, can point out very specifically to the jury the limited purpose that evidence is going to be used for. And ultimately, my instruction is going to control, but you have it solely in your power to tell them this is the only thing you can consider it for, period. The judge is going to instruct you in that, period. Follow the law. So I don't see any problem with that, and I don't believe there's any impropriety. I do want the prosecution's comments concerning the other
instruction. Mr. Reardon raised an objection to my phraseology of a CalCrim instruction, which indicated that if a witness is willfully false in one part of her testimony, you can disregard the entire thing.
You dealt with that.
And I dealt with that because I actually quoted it. The other two things I had down were, and maybe this was just Mr. Reardon's suggestion about the bottle of tequila and me having gone in.
I'm not, and you said, use your own views, but the problem is it's not an evidence. I'm going to have to pursue that a little more. You did deal with it. I think it needs a little more.
I have no problem with that either. The only other thing that I was under the understanding that was objected to was when I said we came to sidebar. And did you see the demeanor of Punk and Pie on the stand?
I think you dealt with it. I'm just going to deal with it a little more. I'm just letting you know I think the defense is correct, and that does need to be clarified for the
Judge,
jury's
I have
point of view.
no problem with that.
All right. Mr. Spector is now present. Go ahead.
So that deals with point number one. That Mr. Reardon's objection today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to point number two and the reference to character assassination, that is absolutely appropriate argument.
Okay.
What Mr. Reardon didn't mention is that Bruce Cutler stood up an opening statement, and he made statements about character assassination. He's the one that brought it up. The defense actually brought up Lana Clarkson and assassinating her character or not assassinating her character, and that made my closing argument, that made my comment during closing argument absolutely appropriate. The defense stood up in opening statement and made certain representations to the jury about the evidence that they were going to present and about the quality of the evidence they intended to present. And Mr. Cutler specifically said, we're not going to engage in any character assassination of Lana Clarkson. We're not going to do that. We wouldn't do that. The evidence is not going to support that. We're not going to present anything like that. And then over the course of 4 months, they bring out her drinking pattern a year before, her drinking pattern 2 years before, her drinking pattern 5 years before. They bring out photographs with her at parties with their leg hyped up on the table, photographs with her at parties years before the incident in this case, with limes in her mouth and in sexy poses, etc. And I didn't say any of this was irrelevant. I didn't say a word about any of the evidence being irrelevant. And certainly, Mr. Reardon goes too far in his argument when he says that I was attacking the court. Absolutely not. What I said was, and it is fair argument, is the defense, through the presentation of their evidence, admissible and relevant as it is, did exactly what they said they would not do. They attacked her drinking, the drug use, finances, her acting ability. As a matter of fact, I didn't say something that I probably could have, which would have been fair comment, and that is they actually attempted to mock her acting ability when they put in the Lana Clarkson video. There is certainly a reasonable inference that the reason that was put in to begin with, it had no other reason except for mockery.
No, there was a reason, and you objected very, very strongly, and I admit it because of Mr. Terzian's testimony about her prospects. And although you said, well, that makes the jury critics, to me, once you put him on and he says she's marketable, and I had no idea what it was, I had never seen the tape.
Sure. That
they have a right to look at it and at least, to his credibility, make a determination whether he's being credible when he testifies.
And I stayed away from that comment altogether. They went on and talked about, or presented evidence about her finances. They presented evidence about her acting ability. They presented evidence about, or made suggestions about theft. They made suggestions about fraud. They presented evidence about fraud. They did exactly that which Mr. Cutler said they would not engage in. That is, in fact, through the evidence, admissible as it is, relevant as it is, that is their choice how to present the defense, or at least part of the defense. And half of the defense was about character assassination and dragging Lana Clarkson through the mud. And that is fair comment for the prosecution. I didn't say that anything was inadmissible. I didn't say that there was anything untoward as far as an evidentiary ruling is concerned, that they were getting evidence that they shouldn't have. What I did say is, look at the evidence as it was presented. Look at it in the light in which it was presented to you, and test that evidence. Test the character and quality of that evidence in making a determination of 2003. and that is perfectly fair comment.
Do you have any cases you want to give me? It needs to, because the question they've raised is, I understand, and I kept out anything that I thought was irrelevant, was unduly prejudicial, if you will, that was over the top. I realize that's not a legal description, but I'm just sort of using it in a generic form. But the things that I let in were relevant to issues that the defense is pursuing, which is that her drinking is relevant to what went on February 3rd, that the other matters that they went into were relevant to the events of February 3rd. And the question is, if I find something relevant and admissible, and I'm well aware of what Mr. Cutler's remarks were, which one could say were paralipsis, in other words, saying one thing and meaning another, we're not going to do this, but we just did it. But the bottom line is, if it's admissible and relevant legally, how does that become character assassination? If it's an admissible attack, if you will, it may be an attack, but it deals with relevant issues on the case. It's the characterization, and it also goes to defense counsel. And also, you can't really use the argument, well, they said it, so now it's opened the door. That's a very treacherous path. I've looked at the cases, and I'm well aware sometimes a comment opens up fair comment and rebuttal, and sometimes it does not.
Well, certainly I was not attacking defense counsel. Everything that I said, and I was very clear and very careful in the words that I chose to use. I never said anything, a personal attack on defense counsel about anything. I was talking about the presentation of the evidence that they have. They have a right, pardon me, the jurors have a right to make a determination in their own mind as to what is, in their mind, relevant, not legally relevant for them to consider. But they can take a fact and they can determine, I'm going to give that fact no weight. I'm going to give that fact no relevance in my determination. And that's done every day. I mean, that's part of what the juror's job is.
And you can argue that, but it's the terminology. When you use the terminology, I realize you were responding to something Mr. Cutler said, and the court didn't allow the defense to put in anything it felt was not relevant, not admissible, in fact, became, if you will, character assassination. But there are matters that are not favorable to the victim, but that are still relevant to the case.
I understand that.
So be it.
And the jurors can pick and choose to use that which they decide is relevant. And that's what I was bringing the attention to.
Okay.
You, the jury, decide what is and what is not relevant. You, the jury, decide what is and what is not germane to the determination of whose hand the gun was in on February 3rd. And that's what I think that's fair comment. And I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't attacking defense counsel. I never did that. I always couched my terms, as I would continue to do. I always couched my terms or my phrases in terms of the evidence. And that's what they're there for. They're to make a determination as to what is and what is not germane to guilt or innocence. And I think gatekeeper decision on what is relevant to be presented to them, the court can't make a decision on what they will weigh and balance, what they will give credibility to. And I was simply saying, you cannot put any weight in her prior drug use. It doesn't matter. You can't put any weight on fraud. It doesn't matter. You can't put any weight on her drinking or on the photographs or any other materials that have nothing to do with the actual conduct on February 3rd. That's where I was focusing my attention.
I think if you use those words, we wouldn't have this issue. I'm going to have to take care of the issue. I believe that the language crossed over, but I can cure it with an admonition, so therefore the motion for a mistrial is denied. You still have to deal with the issue of saying that the only time that the physician-patient privilege can be breached is basically when someone is murdered.
Judge, and I did not, I heard Mr. Reardon say that, and I have no problem with any kind of an instruction. That's not what I was saying, if that's the way it came out. My point was very obviously something completely different than that. I didn't even think that someone would conceive of that. If the judge wants to cure, if the court wants to cure that.
I'll cure real easy, because the privilege doesn't apply in criminal cases, and I'm going to tell the jury that.
I know that, and I didn't mean literally when I said that. I was talking about the fact that she was operating under what she believed was doctor-patient privilege. I wasn't making any determinations about why the letter ended up in this court. I have no problem with the curative instruction.
I'll take care of the admonitions as I deem appropriate.
To make the statement, Your Honor, I would ask that the court specifically deal with the use of the term murder. While Mr. Jackson said he did not refer to defense
I will
counsel.
take care of it by referring to that term, don't worry.
Thank you.
Okay? There's a couple other things before we start with the jury. And when I went over the instructions, I think I knew what I was reading and why it was there, but I'm somewhat concerned. In one of the instructions dealing with the uncharged acts, you have presented 5 petitions you've relied on. The instruction talks about 7.
I'm sorry, there's 7 acts, there's 5 women.
Okay.
There are 7 incidents among 5 women.
Just wanted to make sure.
2 with Diane Ogden-Halder and 2 with Deborah Robitaille.
Okay.
Your Honor, on that score, it's clear, it's indisputable, there were 5 witnesses. I think, if you get into 7 incidents, you're starting to characterize the evidence. I think that the instruction will absolutely serve its function if we just refer to the witnesses.
Well, if we had 1 witness and it was just Deborah Robitaille, it'd be 2 incidents.
I may put 7 incidents dealing with 5 witnesses, and that will make it clear, if you will, that there's not 7 people. I'm going to look at that. And at some point, we're going to need to start getting these instructions duplicated. And so we'll deal with that sometime today. When you duplicate and make sure that anything that's lined out is just eliminated. I mean, don't reproduce it with the lines. They're going to have to be retyped or redone so that the jurors have clean copies.
You want, instead of having, because I know some courts like the black redactions, you don't want black redactions, you want them electronically removed?
Yes.
That's fine.
That would be my preference.
Yeah, that's preferred.
We're also, and we have to do this today, remember I wanted an instruction, what I call the Cox instruction, COX, because of the use of the other firearms. So if somebody will get something that we can talk about.
I have that today, Your Honor.
Okay.
I've given a copy to the prosecution. I'm going to tender to the court.
And we can, I think there's a couple of edits that need to on this particular
That's
instruction
fine.
that Mr. Ruder gave us, but we'll have something before the end of the day.
And also, we never really discussed it, I think, fully on the record. It was sort of submitted, and when I talked to, when I was on vacation during the holiday, we had a conference call between Mr. Rose and myself and Mr. Jackson covering what language the court was going to use so that you could start your preparations. And we talked about the admissibility of the clips that you used in the latter part of your argument yesterday. I found that they were admissible. They're no more than an illustration. They're taken from a news broadcast, but I feel the need to admonish the jury that what they're seeing is a news broadcast, that one viewpoint, and their view of the demeanor and the witnesses is what controls, not this. This is being used for illustrative purposes. So with that in mind, if we're ready to proceed with the jury, let's bring them out, and I'll do my admonitions, and then Ms. Kenny Bodden can begin.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay? All right.
Okay, guys, we are going to stop right there. Because the next part, I don't know how long it is. If it'll tell me. I'm sure it's more than an hour. It's got to be. Well, it won't load and tell me. So, anyway, we'll get to that tomorrow. Because in 10 minutes, we're going to go over to, Wackadoodle's trial. So this will redirect you to that. I will meet you over there in a few minutes. I'm going to take a quick break. Can't hear me. This mic. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's really low. Okay, I forgot about I can go into settings and test it. Hello. Oh man, no, that is come on. Work, Mike. It is not going any higher. Go higher. Go higher. Go higher. No, it is not budging. What in the fudge? I hate this mic. I loved it when I first got it. It's not getting any louder. Get louder. What good is this stupid wheel if it's not going to do anything? Louder. Louder. Go louder. Is it getting better? Well, it doesn't look like it's getting better on the thing. It's there's 5 dots and the first dot is blinking. Every time I talk, the first dot blinks, but there's no more dots. It should be getting more dots. Come on, dots, blink. Stupid thing. Go. How about now? Is that better? A little bit? How's that? There's a slider bar at the bottom. I've got it all the way up. But the little green dots is still only it goes up to the second dot now. I don't know. Okay, so this will redirect you to Wackadoodle's trial, to Georgia v. Nicholas Casotas. And I will see you over there in a few minutes. So please join me. If not, I will see you again in the morning for the start of defense closing arguments in the Phil Spector trial. So remember, be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Thanks for coming out, and I will see you in the morning or in a few minutes.